Hi, I'm Barbara Nemko. It's nice to do a fun topic for a change. Throwing parties. Something that my wife Barbara Nemko and I like to do is throw parties, and we have been told again and again that people think our parties are the best. And it's not because we spend the most money, because we don't. We don't hire a caterer, we don't hire a band, we don't do any of that stuff. But we do some things that have really worked, and so I want to share them with you now. First of all, um, we tend to invite people for relatively early. Maybe that's because we're older, but we don't want people to peter out. So we normally invite them for 7 o'clock or even 6:30. And then we start with champagne. There's something celebratory about it, and we also want people to loosen up. And so we're uh, really eager to get champagne in people's hands. We do also offer, backups. People want soft drinks, of course, or they want even white wine or whatever. So we've got all that. There's always somebody. And the other thing is we do not hire staff. We don't hire people to go and serve. We find that there's always going to be a few people who are shy and who like to serve. So we get some of the early attendees we hand them a bottle of champagne and we have them pour. We put out the glasses of champagne that's sitting out so people can take them if they want, or these few people, I give 2 or 3 people a bottle of champagne and they're pouring. That way I can be a host and I can interact with people. And I really do try to really connect, even though there's 20 or 30 people in our living room. I am trying to really connect with the person, listen carefully to what they're saying, ask a follow-up question or two. And then, because I can't spend too much time, I often have a good way of quickly extricating myself. I'll need to put my hands up. Good talking with you. Maybe I'll talk with you later. And I move on. After roughly, and my wife has got hors d'oeuvres ready. Some of the cold waters are out, so people can be nibbling. And also, she's always, Trader Joe's is amazing. Barbara used to make all her own hors d'oeuvres, but it ended up being not necessary because Trader Joe's has some amazing ones, notably brie and croûte, which is only available some of the time, but it's fabulous. Believe it or not, their hot dogs and croissant blankets are unbelievable. They have good but not great stuffed mushrooms. They have little mini mac and cheese bites. They're delicious. They have arancini bites, which are delicious. So great way to do it. But what she does is she makes one hot hors d'oeuvre. So it kind of creates an overall homey feel. She makes these cheese puffs, her signature hors d'oeuvre, and those get passed around liberally. It creates a very abundant environment, but doesn't really cost very much. The champagne, we don't get the cheapest champagne like Andre or whatever, but a notch above, usually a name people haven't heard of. It makes people feel that we're not being cheap with them, and that's what we typically get. There's I'm blanking on the name, but it doesn't really matter. Something roughly between $7 and $10 bottle of champagne, either from Trader Joe's or from the grocery store. Then I've learned that after roughly an hour, there's a point of diminishing return. People have said the most interesting things they have to say to each other usually within the first hour. So after that, we have our first usually of 2 activities. And we usually always have the same activity, partly because we want to get people a little more relaxed. We do blind wine tasting, so we get them to drink a little more wine as well. I have these little 1-ounce souffle cups that I put on trays, and I usually have a bottle of 2 buck chuck that is now $2.99 Trader Joe's wine, a bottle that's roughly between $5 and $10, and then I have a bottle of 50, somewhere between $30 and $100 wine. I'm too cheap to buy it, but usually people will give you wine that's as a gift that's nice. So I'll find one bottle of that's expensive, and I'll do a blind tasting with them and have people. I milk it. So after they've tasted wine 1, I say, "Who would like to give me your tasting notes for wine 1?" And they're telling me whether they like it and don't, and of course they don't know which wine it is. They do the same for wine 2 and wine 3, and then I have them raise their hand. How many think wine 1 is the expensive wine? How many think wine 2? How many think wine 3? In general, believe it or not, the rankings end up pretty much even. I would say, to be honest, that Trader Joe's may come out as the favorite a little less often, but it comes out often enough, and it certainly makes people realize how much hype the wine industry is, and you don't need to spend a lot of money for a bottle of wine. Then we serve some main course that's easy to serve. We don't have people sit down. We want people moving. It keeps the energy around. So it's something like it could be a Barbara's favorite lasagna, or I don't know, whatever, an easy main course that you can just stick out, and then vegetables and whatever she's got. It's out on the dining room table. People simply, we have a round table. People simply take what they want on the plates, and they're moving around, and that way they can also hang out with who they want to hang around with and change, which is great. After dinner, in between dinner and dessert, we have a second activity. Sometimes it's simply a talent show, and we invite people in the invitation. We invite them to bring a up to 3-minute talent show. And some people, they're not talented, so they'll simply read an excerpt or something they love. I've had people do magic tricks. I've had people sing. I play the piano, so I accompany them. That kind of thing. And then we have dessert, and then it depends. If it's a holiday like Christmas, I will play Christmas carols, and we will sing around. I've printed out the words to about 24 Christmas carols so that people can sing along. Sometimes we've done, instead of the talent show, I will print out scenes from a play, and we'll have people volunteer, something common like the scene from The Sound of Music or The Wizard of Oz. And I'll play a couple of songs and the words are there, and we do that. I've sent people on scavenger hunts around the house or around the immediate neighborhood if the weather is good. But again, these activities are not long. They tend to be about 30 minutes, just long enough to provide a breakup. So, and then while they're serving dessert, of course, people talk some more, and then it's usually over roughly about 3 hours after we start. We start at 7, ending at roughly 10. And then because I'm done. I'm really an introvert, and so I'm done with that. By that time, I'm ready to have them leave. So I'm not doing anything to encourage them to stay. If somebody's leaving, I walk them to the door, which makes it visible that everybody else is leaving. Um, by the way, my wife and I have an excellent division of labor. She's an amazing cook, so she handles the kitchen. She loves making that her bailiwick. And usually people volunteer to help her, so she's not overwhelmed in the kitchen. And also by not hiring people, it's much more human, right? And very often Barbara's, because we're using Trader Joe's stuff, and because we plan to have a lot of the cold stuff out first, and it's a casserole or something as the main course. She's got time to schmooze and talk with people, but she's in the kitchen, people coming talking with her. So we end up having enough time to be social. I'm the kind of the MC, and so I'm running the entertainment and such. But people really love volunteering, serving the hors d'oeuvres, serving the champagne, etc. And people end up leaving really quite happy, and people come back again and again and again to the parties. People come from a long distance actually to come to the parties. Anyway, those are my thoughts on how to throw a good party. Maybe at least some of it is going to be of use to you and the kind of party you want to throw. Anyway, I'm Marty Nemko.